Today I fucked up by being late to an interview. An interview that then ended with an arrest. So, not actually today, but some time ago, I was having a difficult time with my job hunt just off of graduation. My luck seemed to break when I was connected with a company a state away, about a 2-hour drive. I spoke with the company owner over the phone and we hit it off, very promising. He invited me to come interview in person. Now, keep in mind this was before smartphones were a thing, and services like MapQuest could still be very spotty in their directions that they produced, especially in more rural areas. But, armed with what I thought were good directions, and a later start than I had wanted, I headed off for my job interview. Turned out the directions, or my ability to follow them, weren't good enough. I got lost. After driving in circles for a few minutes, I finally gave up and called the company to get directions from where I was to get to their office. Any efforts I had made to get to the interview promptly after an already late start were gone, and I arrived solidly late. At least 30 minutes late, probably a bit more. I probably had to wait another 15 minutes after my arrival because the owner was busy with a phone call. When he was finally available, I went into his office, introduced myself, apologized for being late, gave him a printed copy of my resume, and took a seat while he looked it over. Within a couple of minutes there was a knock at the door. The receptionist/intern poked his head in the door and said to the owner, "There's a policeman in the lobby." The owner stepped out, closing the door behind him. Immediately I started to panic. I thought that the cop must be there for me because of some traffic violation. Speeding? Did I run a light? Miss a stop sign? Then I realized if he was after me for anything like that, he'd have pulled me over immediately. He wouldn't have followed me around while I was lost and waited another 20 minutes before coming in. So I eased over to the door to see if I could hear what was being discussed, in time to hear the cop inform the owner that he's being arrested for check fraud, or something check writing related, and would be held locally until they could transfer him to the municipality that issued the warrant, near where I lived. I sat back down, kind of shocked. I was late enough that if I had been on time and it was a short interview, I might have passed the cop on his way in or missed him altogether and left thinking I had job prospects with someone who was bouncing checks badly enough that a municipality a state away wanted him arrested and brought to them. The intern came in and said, "Well, I guess the interview is over," sounding shocked. I responded, trying to joke in the face of what just happened, "Well, I guess that beats my being late." A couple months later I got a voicemail from the owner asking if I was still interested in interviewing to work at his company. I decided to not return the call. Too long didn't read. I left late to get to a promising job interview, got lost, and arrived at least 30 minutes late. Waited another 15 minutes. Finally got in and sat down, only to witness the company owner taken away for checking related crime. If I hadn't been so late, there's a chance I would have agreed to work for him. When I read the title, I thought you had gotten arrested. TBH, it sounds like you dodged a bullet a bit. If you made this deal and then he got arrested, it would be way more awkward, to say the least. What kind of job was it? Web design. It was a small ISP/web host with a weird name that no longer exists. Today I got lucky. That's not a today I fucked up. That's you lucking out. Today I failed upwards. Today I fucked up wondering what that smell was. This happened a couple nights ago. Eldest child wondered what the smell was in the house at 2 a.m. and came in to wake us up. She often has an oversensitive nose and it was probably a skunk or something outside. After talking for about 10 minutes, I decided fine, I'll go look. As I started going downstairs, it hit me. We actually had a gas leak. I could smell it going downstairs. My brain stopped. How could this happen? I went back upstairs, and told her to get to her bedroom. Wife was up at that point as well. I decided to hold my breath and go back down. We just replaced the igniter on our oven, and I wondered if somehow that go bumped didn't light up and is dumping gas into our house. The scene from Jason Bourne popped in my head. Please let the toaster be off. Holding my breath as long as I could, I opened the back door, then went to the kitchen. I heard the hiss at first and tried to figure out where it was coming from. Finally I found one of the burners didn't get turned off after dinner. When the pan was removed to put in the sink, the air put out the flame because it was on low. That was 6 to 8 hours earlier. I'm thinking, no wonder I was feeling tired watching TV earlier. earlier was being poisoned, and just lucky that I decided to go upstairs to bed instead of falling asleep on the couch. Luck +1. I quickly turned off the gas, not realizing when you do that it turns past the igniter for the burner. I must have been fast enough. It didn't do the spark. Luck +2. Quick thinking on my part told me to also open front door to get a draft going. The dumb thinking on my part was to turn on the fan vent in the laundry room just off the kitchen. Later we read that turning on that vent could cause a spark, and more likely than turning on a light. Luck +3. While I was downstairs, the wife called the gas company and then we all left the premises. Gas company showed up an hour later or so, took a while, and did a sniff test then pressure check. Pressure good. If I didn't turn off that burner, we would have had to call a plumber to come out and figure out where the leak was. +4, saved me $300 to be told turn off the stove. All in all, I'm alive, my family is alive, and the house we are renting didn't blow up. Luck +5. I think I'll go buy a lotto ticket. On the downside, the next day, I did Google house gas leak explosion and about crapped my pants as to what could have been my fate with all that gas filling the downstairs. Too long didn't read, gas stove left on unlit for 6+ hours. Could have blown up house turning on laundry fan. This is absolutely terrifying. I'm glad you're all okay. Yeah. Was wired the entire next day. Thinking about what if. I gave my daughter the biggest hug, and told her how much I loved and appreciated her pushing through my groggy, I'm the dad, and it's 2 AM go to bed mode. I just shake my head at myself. I cooked dinner and left the burner on low. Lucky. Now go buy a gas leak alarm. If I'm not mistaken, even turning on a light switch can cause a very small spark which, for that amount of time the gas was leaking, could cause a spark substantial enough to ignite the gas. Don't ever doubt your daughter's sniffer again. For sure. Turning on a light can create a small spark at the switch. The fan can create a spark at the switch, plus the motor getting turned on, the spark can be bigger. I won't doubt that sniffer for sure. I work for a power plant that uses natural gas in our boilers. I'm sure it smelled bad, but that odor is intentionally bad and intense, so when leaks do happen people like you have a chance to find and fix the problem before it gets to very bad problem levels. Growing up in a big family, it wasn't uncommon for someone to leave the burner on, and I know exactly what you're talking about, but all that worry about a spark igniting it is not necessary. But you're right to think about it. An open flame would be bad, yes, but you would need a very big spark to ignite what you're describing. Unless it was like dense enough gas in the air to see the fumes waving like heat over a hot road or something. I doubt you were in danger starting a fan or turning off the burner like you described. If you had slowly turned off the burner and gave it a chance to spit out a touch of gas along with the spark and ignite the burner, then yes, you could have had a problem. But you took the proper precautions. I won't doubt you that. Next time this happens, because if you own a gas stove it does happen, just turn off the burner, open some windows, and maybe some front or back doors if it's bad enough, and it will dissipate. Turning on fans isn't the best idea until you've gave the gas a chance to clear out a bit. That's probably the worst thing you did, because fans can spark a bit inside the motor when they start up. But like I said, the only reason a gas burner ignites the gas is because it's located right next to the gas outlets of the burner and the gas is very dense there. Just be happy you didn't have a pilot light on a furnace or water heater or something that was lit nearby. This happened to me, but the leak was for 2 to 3 days, before I figured out what the smell was. I even lit candles to mask the smell. I also have a gas alarm that never went off. If the candle was sufficiently far enough from the source of the leak, it may have been burning off small amounts of gas during the 2 to 3 days, helping prevent the ratio of gas to air from entering the right amount where it becomes explosive. Or it was a small enough leak and your house had ample ventilation to where the correct ratio was never achieved. Today I fucked up by being racist without realizing it. Little bit of backstory, I'm living in the American Northwest, although I'm originally from the Deep South. I have a very strong Southern accent and am about as pale as a piece of paper. Anyways, here's the story. 3 friends and I, or Lem, early 20s, drove to a little convenience store in a gas station to grab some drinks and snacks for our inevitable drunken munchies. As we are walking towards the door, there are about 6 to 7 people, 2 are white, the others are black. This is important later, standing right outside smoking and just hanging out. My friends and I walk into the store right as someone else was leaving, and I leaned over to my buddy and said, "It smells like blacks out there. Might get one for myself." I know how this sounds, but where I'm from, blacks is common shorthand for Black and Milds, a brand of cigarillos. My thick southern accent probably didn't help either. So I get everything I needed in the store and am the first of my friends out. All the people outside are dead quiet, glaring at me. I didn't think anything of it, but as I walked away, they started yelling choice expletives, threatening me and my friends, and belittling me. I turn around shocked and ask them what they're yelling at me for. After they told me, I sincerely apologized and explained what I had intended. They were skeptical at first, but soon realized my poor choice of words and recommended I don't use the shorthand blacks anymore. I fully agreed and was relieved that I wasn't beaten to a pulp at a gas station. Too long didn't read, I accidentally insinuated I wanted slaves through my thick southern accent and almost got beat up for being racist. I explained what I meant and cleared the situation up. They accepted my apology and we carried on with our lives. That's cool, though. You apologized and explained instead of getting defensive. And you were able to connect as people and resolve it. Well done. Award you one upvote. You understood how they might have taken offense, so you apologize and explain what you meant. Then they understood how you might have made that kind of mistake, and accepted your explanation and apology, giving you a bit of good advice instead of beating you up. Sounds like a model for interpersonal relations many people could learn from. I'm glad this story ended the way it did for everyone involved. At least you got to explain it to them and learn something in the process, even if learning the lesson was the hard way. And hey, you didn't get your ass kicked before explaining the confusion. I'm from New York and we call them blacks too. I think that's not even a regional thing, it's just the shorthand word for them. Tensions are pretty high with racial issues, so I do see why they jumped to conclusions, but honestly I feel like if you're smoking a Black and Mild you've had to have known that most people call them blacks. I mean, maybe some people call them milds? Lol, I've never heard that. But yeah, I was smoking black. Do you have blacks is a common thing to say. I don't think you should feel like you messed up or feel guilty or anything. Some people just need to understand that there's a lot of things that are called black.